Hello and welcome to our 7th session on this modifiers, and in this session we are going to start exploring the deformed category of modifiers. So to begin with, we are going to start with the armature, and for that I am going to use a simple armature structure to understand the basics of how the armature is going to work. So for that I will now come into Blender, and here I have the default cube. I will select it, press X, and I am going to delete it, then press Shift plus A, and I will come into the mesh and I am going to add a Suzanne monkey. Now I will press numpad 1 and come into the front view, and with this selected, if I press function 2 button, F2 button on my keyboard, you will get this menu where I can rename this. I am going to now call this as monkey underscore mesh and press enter. Now coming into the outliner, I will open this, and the data mesh name is by default Suzanne. I will select this also and I will give it the same name, monkey underscore mesh. Now I will close this and our mesh is ready, and for this mesh I am going to add some generative modifiers. Like I will come into the modifiers here, and the first modifier I am going to add here is the subdivision surface modifier. So when I add this subdivision surface modifier, I will come into the viewport and add 2 levels of this, and then I will come here, right click and choose shade auto smooth, and this shade auto smooth is also added over here. So I will close this. So I have added this subdivision surface, and then come into the screen here. You can see a very smooth monkey. Now I will press numpad 1 and I will press tab and come into the edit mode, and I am in the vertex selection mode. I will press Z and come into wireframe mode. I will just zoom it and I will select all the vertices on the left hand side like this, and I will press X and I am going to delete this. Now if I press tab and press Z and come into the solid state mode, you can now see that I have only half of the monkey, and for the other half I am going to come into the add modifier, and in generate I am going to add the mirror modifier. So you got the other half of the monkey also, but the only issue is when I have mirrored it, you are seeing some lines here, some creases appearing here. See, even here you have this crease, and even on the back side you are seeing this crease. So I want to avoid it. Now it's very simple to remove this. So to remove this, only thing I have to do is I have to come into the modifier, and you have the stack of modifiers here. Means for this monkey, first subdivision surface is applied, then mirror, then smooth by. Now I will drag this mirror and move it to the top, and I will make mirror applied first and then the subdivision surface, and now you can see that all those wrinkles are removed. So the order of stacking of this modifier plays a very important role in the final result of your model. Now with this done, I will press numpad 1 and come into the front view, and now the very first thing is I have the cursor exactly at the center. Now, or otherwise press Shift S and choose cursor to world origin to bring it to the center. Now I am going to press Shift A, and in the mesh, now coming and in the add menu, I am going to come here and add an armature. And as soon as I add it, I will come into the collection here. I will double click and I am going to call this as monkey underscore rig. Now if you see the structure, monkey underscore rig is the container of this armature, and if you open this, inside this you have the actual armature. So I will just double click this, copy this, and for this armature also I will give the same name, and if you open this, right now you have one single bone, and the default name of this is bone, and I am going to double click it and I am going to give it the name as head. So if you want to see these names here in the screen, then I can select this monkey rig and I can come into the object menu here, and if you scroll down, you have here the viewport setting. So you have viewport display setting. I can come here and enable names to show the name of my rig. You can see here the name is visible, monkey underscore rig, and also I can enable axis to show the axis. You can see the axis here visible, and finally in the display as, I will change it to wireframe so that this appears as a wireframe. To now select the bone head, and if I come into the data section of this and open the viewport display, now here I will enable names to show the name of my actual bone here, and also here I will also enable to show. I will now come back here and I will press Z and come into the wireframe mode, and I will press 1 and come into the front view, and I have my first bone ready here. Now the next bone is I need to add a bone for this ear so that the ear of this Suzanne can be animated. So for that I am going to press shift and I am going to right click here. Shift plus right click is going to add a cursor here. So you can now see the cursor is added here, and I will come into the edit mode now. If I just press shift A new actual bone is added and you have the name here. I will select this bone and then press F2, and instead of bone I am now going to call this as ear.L, ear.L, and I will press enter. So I have two bones here, head and ear.L. Now I am going to now select this part here and I will come into the snapping and I am going to enable face snapping. So I will enable face snapping and then I will see that it is attached to move here, and then I will just press Z and come into solid state, and now I will select this, press G and move it, and as I move it, if I press Control, you can see that this is going to snap exactly somewhere here to the edge of my ear like this. So similarly I will press numpad 7 and come into the top view, and I am going to select the other portion of here is the other portion of this bone. I will select this, press numpad 7 and then I will press G, and as I move it, if I just hold Control, you can now snap it to all the actual that is faces here, and somewhere here at this point I am going to place it. So now I have precisely, and also here I want this at the center, so I will press GZ, move it down, and as I move I will press Control so that it snaps to the correct faces here. So I will snap it to the face here at the bottom here like this, and I will press 7 and come into the front view. I will press Z and come into wireframe and see that this is correctly snapped over here. And once this is snapped, I will select this bone and then I will come into the bone menu here, and in the relationship I will come in the relationship, and in the parent now I am going to select head. So for this you should be in the edit mode. So I have made this the parent of head. So now if I come into the object mode and if I press 1 and come into the front view, press Z and come into solid state mode, and with this I will press edit, and I am now going to come here and inside the head I will select the ear.L, and then I will right click and choose symmetrize. So when I choose symmetrize, then automatically another bone is added to the right. It is automatically renamed as ear.R, and it is present on the right hand side of my ear. I will press numpad 1 and come into the front view, and then now with this monkey rig selected, if I come here into the opposer mode and if I select this, I will press Z and come into wireframe, and if I select the main head bone and if I rotate or make any changes, you can see both other bones are getting rotated. Now I will right click and cancel it. Now only thing is when I come into this ear.L and when I am going to make any rotations here, you can now see that this Z axis is not correctly aligned. If I come and select the rotate tool, you can see the axis here, and this Z axis, actually if you come into the front view and see it, see this is the Z axis. So if I rotate this and if I see this, this is not perfectly aligned to this. Okay, so I will right click and undo this, and now what I am going to do is I will now select this and I will come into the edit mode. I will now select this and I will press shift N, and you will get this recalculate roll option, and in this I am going to recalculate this and set this to global plus Z axis. So when I set it to global plus Z axis, you can now see how the Z axis has shifted. Come into rotation, and if I enable this, if I select this and if I enable the rotation, you can now see the axis is going to be along here. If I come into the pose mode, if I select this and if I rotate it, you can now see that this is going to rotate along the Z axis like this. So I will click here, I will press Ctrl Z and undo this rotation, then I will come back into the edit mode, and now if I press N and come into the right hand side menu here, you can now see I will set this roll value is set to -30. I will set it to around 40 degree. With the monkey rig selected, I will come into the pose mode, and when I am selecting these bones here, for all the bones here, you can see that this is set to quaternion rotation, and this quaternion rotation is a slight confusing when you are working on it. So to change this, I can press A and select everything, then press Ctrl R, and here you have set rotation mode now, and in the set rotation mode I am going to change this to the second one, XYZ Euler. I will press numpad 1, come into the front view Z, and I will come into the solid state view, and now I will select my Suzanne monkey. I will come into the object mode and I am going to select the Suzanne monkey, and in the Suzanne monkey I will come into this object tab, and here you have one relations, and in the relations I am going to manually parent this object to my monkey underscore rig. So when I parent it to the monkey underscore rig, if I now select the monkey rig and if I press G and move it, you can automatically see my monkey is also moving. I will right click and cancel it. However, when I come here into the pose mode and if I try to move any of the bone here, I will select this bone, and if I try to move, this has no effect on the monkey ear. So to make this achieve, I will press Ctrl Z and undo this rotation, come back to object mode, select the monkey, press numpad 1 and come into the front view, and I will come into the modifier, and the next modifier I have to add to this to make the armature work is I have to come into add modifier, and in the deform the very first modifier we are going to work on is the armature modifier. So when I select the armature modifier, you can immediately see a red mark appearing here saying that this armature, whatever you have added, has nothing linked and it is not going to work. So this red indicates that. So here what I have to do is I have to now come into the object and select the monkey rig. Now you can see this has become white, indicating that now the armature has been correctly linked, and I will enable bind to vertex group is on. And now here if you come into the stacking of the modifiers here, as of now you can see that first we have the mirror modifier, subdivision modifier, then the armature. But here actually if you apply armature after the subdivision, because the vertices will be more, the rigging will take more time, and also after the armature has rigged the model will get distorted because the subdivision is applied before. So now the correct order is I have to drag armature and put it before the subdivision, and after the armature rigging is over, then the subdivision has to happen. So I have to now link different parts of my monkey mesh to the different bones here. So I am going to do it completely manual. So for that I am now going to select this monkey underscore mesh. I will come into the data module here. I will click on the data module, and you have one provision here called as the vertex groups. So here I am going to create 3 groups for my 3 bones. So group 1, group 2, group 3. And now I will come into this monkey rig, and the very first bone I am using is the head. I will double click it and I will copy the name of this bone. I will come over here in the monkey rig. I will come to monkey rig, select the first group here, and I am going to give the same name over here. Now similarly here I will again come here, open head, and I will select ear.L, copy this name, come to monkey rig, and for group 001 I will give the same name. And similarly now I will select the monkey rig, I will come here and select ear.R, I will copy this, I will come back to my monkey rig, and for group 002 I will give the same name. So I have created 3 groups. How are we going to assign different vertex groups to these different groups? So for that I will first come into the head. I have selected the head, and now here coming over here I will press on this screen, press Ctrl tab, and now when I press Ctrl tab you are going to see all the tabs of all the modes here: vertex, plane, texture, main, edit mode, sculpt mode, object mode, weight mode. So whatever you are seeing here is available to you when I click Ctrl tab. And now here I am going to choose the option weight paint. So when I come into weight paint, you are going to see that my entire monkey has turned blue. Blue means as of now none of the area has been selected in this head. To add any object, I can come here and you have the paint. I can choose different paint brushes here. I will select the paint brush here. You have the weight, you have the radius, and I can also set the radius by pressing the open square bracket will increase the radius, close square bracket will decrease the radius, so I can actually control this using this. And now I will press numpad 7 and come into the top view first, and if I try to paint somewhere here by left clicking and try to paint, nothing is going to paint because this area is nothing but the mirrored area. Actual mesh is on the right hand side. So now I will start painting here, and as I paint, you are seeing 3 colors here. Red indicates the objects which are completely present in this group, which has the weight value of 1, and blue indicates that it has a weight value of 0. Yellow indicates a weight value of 7, and green indicates a weight value of around 3. So now the influence of the mesh over the selection is going to depend on these colors, and now whichever area I want it to be fully present in this group, I have to paint it red. So I will start painting here, and as I paint in the top view, I will paint everything here and make it blue like this. And if I middle mouse click, I will come here, and if I now come, some portion of the ear also has been selected here. So let's okay, I will correct it later. I will now come here and I will paint the front area. I will select the entire head area like this without leaving anything here. I will press numpad 1, come into the front view, and I am going to paint all this area here with this color. See, I have painted this completely with this color. Then I will just middle mouse click and turn here, and again here also I am going to paint all this area with full red, because this head is completely going to be added to this group, because I am in the head group now. Then I will turn back, and on the back side also I will add complete red color here, and all these areas will be made dark red, so that all the areas that you are seeing here are attached to my head group. So I have got this entire group connected to the head group, and when you are painting, you can keep on adding, and by chance if some of the color gets added here, now I can now press, so I can subtract this ear area here. I am going to subtract all these areas. Okay, so I have to press Control and paint it, not Shift. I have to press Control and paint it here to actually remove the area from the ear area like this, so that I am now going to select here. I will just left click and paint it here, because these areas I want this to be connected to my head area. So I will just paint these areas over here. So I will just paint it. I will also increase my brush size like this, and I am going to now paint these areas red here like this. So till here I will paint it red. Here also I will paint it red. So this entire head area is now completely red. See, I will paint it here, and also I will paint it a little here, and if I will press Control and remove some area here, and then again I will reduce the brush size, and then I will just paint over here, and I am going to separate this head area, and here I will press Control and paint it so that all the ear area here is blue. So this is completely. Now come here, and from weight paint I will come back into the object mode, and I am now going to select the monkey rig, and in the monkey rig, if I come back into pose mode, and if I select this bone, and if I press G and move it, you can now see how only the monkey head is moving, whereas the ear is snapped at the same position. See, I can only move the monkey, and the areas where I have not painted red, which is blue, will not be affected by this movement. See it. So this is the effect I have. I will right click and cancel it. This is fine. Now the next thing I am going to do is, I will next again come into the, I will come back to object mode here, select the monkey and come into the weight paint mode, and this time from the head I am going to now choose the next group ear.L, and now I am going to now zoom in, and I am going to select this ear area. So I will make the brush a little bigger, and I am going to paint all these areas fully red, because this is the area that should be influenced by ear.L group. So whichever area I want it to be influenced by ear.L bone, I am going to paint it here. So I will paint this, I will turn around, and even here I will paint the back completely with red like this. So all these areas I will also come to the top, I will paint this, even below I will make this fully red. So this ear area is completely influenced by this. Now once I have added this, now I will come back here from weight paint to object mode, and then I will select the monkey rig here, and I will come back to pose mode. And in the pose mode, if I now select this ear.L, and along the z axis if I rotate it, you can now see how the ear is making the movement. Now as of now, see, I have attached ear.L only to the left ear. However, since I have used the symmetrize tool, now I can now, if I have rotated it here, I will press Ctrl L, and now I can come to the left right hand side, select this ear, and I can also make this ear rotate like this. So whatever weight paint I had given it to the left ear, that is automatically attached to my ear.R, and you can see this effect. So I will rotate it, then press Ctrl R and cancel it. Now one thing you have to remember is, I will come back here to the object mode, and I will select the monkey mesh, and here if I come into the modifier, right now the armature is applied after the mirror modifier. Say for example, if the stacking is changed, if I move the mirror modifier below the armature modifier, now if I select the ear.L, and if I come into the pose mode, and if I select this, and if I rotate it, now you can see that both the ear are rotating. See, symmetrically both are moving. See, both the ear is moving now. This is because I have applied this armature before the mirror, so I cannot individually control it now. So I will now press Ctrl Z twice to undo this. Now if I come into the object mode here, select the monkey, and if I now move the mirror above the armature, now I can individually control both this. Or I will come into pose mode, I can select this, and I can individually control this ear, and I will Ctrl Z and cancel it, and I can individually control this ear. Okay, I will Ctrl Z and cancel it. Now I will press numpad 1 and come into the front view, and finally now I will come into file, save as, and I am now going to save this as 04_07_ and I am going to call this as Armature Modifier example, and I am now going to save this. You just saw how the armature modifier is going to work. So in this case, what you have to understand is, we added the armature manually, we added the bones manually, and we parented them manually, and then every armature was attached to a part of the mesh by using the weight paint, and we did all of this manually, and this is how the rigging will be carried out. And we have just used an ear on the face, and we have done the rigging, and you can apply the same principle to a complete human body. So with this will give you an introduction to this armature modifier, and in our next class we are going to work with the next modifiers, that is the cast and the curve modifiers.